on the show today, bud?
We've got Mr. Waylon Glintz. And who is
Mr. Waylon Glintz? Let me take the reins on this. What do you say, pal? Let's talk about who Waylon Glintz is. Waylon Glintz is a Canadian bass player hailing from Chippewa, Ontario. His career has taken him all over North America on tours across North America and Europe, even landing him in some great recording studios with some industry greats. He's been seen in the international stage with artists such as Leaving Thomas, the Mandevilles, Elton Lammy, and many more. And when I say many more, I mean many more. This cat is happening. Currently, you can catch Waylon playing bass with Toronto-based pop artist Christy Palace. So check her out. Waylon endorses Aguilar Amplification, Noble, and Frank?
Plunge Audio, I believe.
Plunge Audio, baby. Calgary, Alberta.
Alberta.
I say we get him on. Are you ready?
Let's get Waylon. This is gonna be fun.
This could be a lot of fun, eh?
It's
kind of a fun guy. I hope he's dressed.
Got a whole bunch of trouble going on in this one.
I hope he's dressed, Frank.
You got your beep. Well, he's wearing the same clothes since probably a month ago.
Yeah, right.
He was tour.
He's a rock star. Here we go. Mr. Waylon Glintz, let's get him in here. Drum roll, please. Mr. Waylon Glintz in the house. What up, dude? Look at him. He's just trying to figure out his tech.
What's up?
To your face?
Oh, has he got Plunge Audio?
Oh, yeah. Where were the? Okay, 3 dots. Virtual.
Hey, we're ready to bust you here. Let's go. We need. We got lots of busting for you.
What was that thing where I can see all 3 of us?
Oh, gallery view.
Gallery view. Oh, there it is.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
Do you want to ask the question, Frank, or do I want to ask the question about the tech here?
The not Plunge Audio tech, obviously.
Yeah, are those Plunge Audio, Waylon? Or?
No.
So you're already
they don't have the microphone built in.
Yeah.
Why not? That's something
Good
you got to ask.
See you, buddy. Thanks for coming to hang out.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
You got your coffee handy or what?
No, I don't drink coffee in the morning.
Frank, where's that button? The off button.
Leave meeting?
Yeah, leave meeting. Where is that?
And where's the end?
End button. He's like, I thought, who's this kid that's coming on? Like, there's no
clean shaven.
It's just weird. I don't think
I got bored, quarantine bored.
I have seen you when I first met you. You were full beard, and then there was one time in our friendship where you came onto the bus or whatever, and you were shaving like this, and I just about fell over in my chair. And then you went back to full beard, and now you're here again.
Yeah. Now we're here again.
I like this variety of action you got going on here.
I like to switch it up.
He's mixing it up, all that kind of stuff. You know, it's you would love our intro for you. You didn't, you don't get to see it.
I don't even know why I bother sending you guys a bio.
Oh, we used it.
Yeah, we did talk. We improvised. Yeah, it was good.
All right. Fair enough.
All right. So,
dude,
folks,
we are very honored to have you on the show, bud.
Thanks for having me.
You're one of our best buds, and what a monster player, and what a gem of a human being. So, thanks for coming.
Why, thank you.
Yeah, let's get to it, Frankus.
Yeah, well, have you tried our coffee there, buddy?
On the road with you guys, yeah. I think it was the early stages of testing, and I think you guys had just gotten Sting on board.
Well, you were helping us in Mohegan Sun when we were playing that casino game in Connecticut.
Yes.
You were helping us, I think, looking at our light roast profiles, because you are a light roast guy. Like, you introduced yourself anyway.
Yeah, that's right.
To the light roast world. I didn't even know about that before.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Okay. So was that the one you guys ended up going with? The one that we were drinking that day?
Tried.
Yes. It was one of, I think, after Mohegan Sun we had, I believe, 4 or 5 of each roast. We got rid of all the blends because they just weren't working for us. So we had 4 or 5. We went home, tested them both with our wives, and scored them in order. And the Jaeger Chef Ethiopian one was on the top of our list for both of us. So that's what
I think what we had was a blend, and it did have the Jaeger Chef in it.
Yeah.
So I kind of tried the light roast. I think it was blended with maybe a Mexican. Does that sound right?
We had about 50 different things going on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I seem to remember there was a blend happening. Yeah.
Yeah. We had a box full of like all sorts of different stuff and just had to, we tried it over a couple weeks, Frank.
Yeah. Because there was a Jaeger Chef involved. I remember there being an Ethiopian bean kicking around in there. So, but I did try the Sting. I've had that one with you guys.
That's right. Yeah.
I always take sips of your coffee. So.
Yeah. Not anymore, buddy. Where's your mask?
Yeah. It's a new world, man.
It's all different now. It's
all different now.
Hey, man, how has COVID impacted you in, music, obviously, but maybe you could talk a little bit about that, how it directly impacted you in your music and life, everything.
Yeah. I mean, like, in every single way that it's probably affecting everybody else you're going to have on here and you guys yourself. I mean, we're in a band together, so all the gigs that just, our camp has is just ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
So, all of our summer touring's been canceled. And so it's not like it's just affecting right now. It's going to affect us for the next year probably, right? Financially and,
sure.
And whatever else is happening, because maybe opportunities that would have came down the pipe are going to take another year to happen because all the gigs are pushed back, right? So that, and then just regular everyday people stuff of wanting to go see someone but you can't, or wanting to go get groceries and they're out of everything.
Yeah.
And just regular life stuff, man. Like when that in that first the first month, it trying to just get hand sanitizer or wipes, you couldn't.
Can you even get that now?
Yeah, I think like my dad actually just picked up Lysol wipes for the first time because he saw them. You know what I mean?
Right.
So just like that stuff. But I mean,
you're gonna take a drive out to Chippewa today, Frank, and get some wipes.
Oh, by the time we get out there, they're gone.
I think they're
gone.
I got 2 Clorox, one in the car, one on the steps here. So I've got. They were about week 3 when I got those, or
right.
week 2, whenever. It was long ago.
I was talking, Waylon, with an artist friend that we all know. Won't mention any names, but he was saying how he was worried about being relevant when this is all done.
Yeah.
Depending on where you are in your career and who you're playing with and all that. Like, he's like, are we going to be relevant? Like, like, are people, like you said, all the opportunities you're going to miss along the way? Well, that's kind of what he's talking about, right?
That's exactly it, right? I mean, the opportunities are now going to be a year or 2 years down the pipe, right? So where are we going to be at in 2 years? Where are we all going to be at in 1 year? You don't know, right? So,
all recording artists, their financing is all gone. It's like, even if it exists, all being pushed. Everything I've had, and like you guys and the gigs that we all have together, they're pushed to 2020 to 2021. Like, it's just 2021. It's just being, instead of like, okay, we'll put it to November and that. No, it's just like, let's just put it to next year, which 2021, if it all works out, is going to be a fantastic year of playing music.
But at the same time, it can only fit so many days into a year. We, like, every summer, with what us 3 have been doing together, we've been slammed.
Yeah.
So it's, how do you double slam something? Like, next year, of course, we're going to be slammed, but we would have been slammed anyway. So there's going to be not just about, like, we're going to pick up that work. There's going to be a ton of it that it's gone. Yeah, they postpone it, but it's going to take over dates that would have been new work down the line.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I was talking to an artist friend of mine, and he's about to go on his biggest tour of his career yet, that should be starting this spring, that goes well into the fall, and they're doing stadiums, and so all of his stuff, it's
right.
All of his stuff is, it has to get canceled now, and so, and then when it comes around, if he's going to be playing, whatever stadium it is, let's say Rage Against the Machine wants to play that night,
right?
or Elton John wants to play that night.
Yeah.
For the venue, you know what I mean? It's a sure thing to get Elton John. It's going to sell out however many nights he wants to do it. So it's really tough. And that kind of goes into like small businesses. Anyone that just you guys know, anyone that just opened a small business that's, maybe not doing an e-commerce thing, you're basically sewered because there's not a ton of support yet. And, all of your clientele just got cut off. So it's like,
and Frank and I were
what are you supposed to do?
Maybe a couple weeks ago, 3 weeks ago now. Excuse me, my calendar is all messed up in my head. What date is today?
Yeah.
We were talking about the liability insurance for things like festivals and even venues like big auditoriums where there's that many people together again. You need liability insurance. You need insurance on those venues. What insurance company is going to give, or, when are they going to start giving insurance at a reasonable rate for a bunch of people to gather in the same room together?
Yeah.
Like that might take a while for that. We don't even know about that yet, right?
Yeah, that's why it's the big touring shows, the big festivals, they're talking autumn 2021 before that's all going to get settled out. With herd immunity or a vaccine or something like that on the market for people to be safe, because I think it's 2 million for a 300 to 500 seat venue, then it jumps to 10 million pretty fast, and then for the big things, I'm sure the insurance is probably $50 million to $100 million that they had to carry in liability, and it gets buried in the ticket. Tickets are expensive as they are, and they're just going to put it into the ticket price, and then who's going to?
Yeah.
We're already paying upwards of $500 for big venues. Who's going to pay $1,000 to see a show? It's hard.
Yeah. And well, then you have like the dilemma as the artist, like thinking about it. Well, yeah, I want to make money. I want to pay my band, but I also want to have my fans safe. And if there's some sort of
of course,
possibility, it's like, how can I ethically make that call to just have the show if they're okaying it,
right.
So it's a shit show. Like, how do you? I don't know. Where's the line and when's it going to stop? It's it could be 2 years before we're able to have gatherings over 100 people. Who knows? You don't know.
Yeah,
exactly.
Hey,
yeah.
So let's talk about music a little bit here. Your kind of your musical background. We talked a little bit in your bio about playing with the Mandevilles and Leaving Thomas and Elton Lammy and many more. Recording, but take the reins here, buddy, and just like fill us in what we've missed or go deep.
Well, I mean, I kind of professionally started about 10 years ago. When I was 16 in high school, my band signed a record deal with a label called Halcyon Records, and I think we got signed for one album deal, and the band broke up basically as we released the record.
I think I know that story too.
It goes, yeah.
Are we allowed to talk about that story on? I don't know. You might have to glide over that story, I think.
That's right.
Go.
So yeah, that kind of started there, and I won't waste your time with all the nonsense that went on before that. So yeah. Andrews Lara, a good friend of mine. He's the guy that kind of got me rolling professionally. And from there, I went on to live in Toronto for a while in a band, sleeping on couches and all that fun stuff. And then I was working with the Mandevilles for about six or so years.
Can you talk about who are they? Where are they from?
So the Mandevilles are a Welland-based band. Fantastic. They're about to release a new record, by the way. They actually have a single out right now called Junkie that they just released a music video. So check that out.
Where can they check that out at? Do you know?
It's on all the major streaming platforms. So Spotify,
just look up,
iTunes, all that stuff. If you look up the Mandevilles, you'll find like I said, the videos on YouTube. They just released that for the music video for it. So
great
it's
people,
all
great people.
Great people. Well, you guys, Ed, you were in a band with the guitar player Nick.
For Heartbeat
there in Boston
and Monster.
Yeah, and Serena Prine, lead singer, is fantastic, and also my girlfriend.
Yeah.
Hey,
maybe we get her on the show. Is she over there somewhere? Where is she? Get her in here.
But yeah, I was with them for a while, and that was probably the biggest learning curve as far as actually playing bass. I feel like, you know what I mean?
Oh, okay.
Because that was like because I had done the sort of professional industry thing. I got those things happening, but this was the first like real professional band I worked with.
Cool.
So with that comes, as you guys know, a lot of hurdles that you have to, overcome personally. Getting better at your craft, learning all of the etiquette that comes into being in a professional band. And then, the conversation that happens on stage between, professional musicians. And I was fairly young. I joined that band when I was 19, which, came recording with Garth Richardson, which was huge. And then, a bunch of touring in Europe. So that it was a massive career.
Well, and you went on tour. The Mandevilles went on tour with a couple big names, right?
We did some great stuff. The first big one that when I was in the band, because they did some cool stuff before I was around. Serena and Nick had a band called Oliver Black that did really well for a while there, and they eventually switched their name over to the Serena Prine and the Mandevilles, and then that's when I joined in 2013, I think ish. And then we cut it down to just the Mandevilles, and we started touring. Well, we did the European tour with some bands out there, and then we came home and we got a tour with the Tea Party.
Yeah.
We did some stuff with Blue Rodeo, a band called Electric Six from Detroit. And then there was an acoustic tour that happened with Hart and Joan Jett, which was very cool. And then
Doesn't get cooler than that.
Yeah, and then every one-off David Wilcox, Kim Mitchell show, in between. But yeah, that was great. And then that's where I got my opportunity to record with Garth Richardson, which was a total career changer. And the guy retaught me how to play my instrument and all that stuff. And then I kind of slowly after that got opportunities to do the session-based stuff that I kind of fell in love with, and that led to Leaving Thomas, Christy Palace, my stuff with you guys, with Elton, and then whatever other recording, and now the three of us are doing client recording and stuff. So
yeah, and it's not to mention that we're trying to get us three together to record our little original project.
Yeah, exactly. So we've been just jamming out on the road.
We just been jamming on the road and doing sound checks, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So I got my rig set up to record now. I know we're going to talk about. Yeah, well, let's jump right into that. So you wanted, you can do some mobile bass recording, right, Waylon?
Yeah. So, right now I'm hooked up with like an Amplitude iRig thing, but I actually just bought a Universal Audio interface, and I'm on Logic and all that stuff. So I got all that stuff going. So I got a pretty sweet setup at home now.
The 2-in?
It's 3, I believe. It's got the quad processor in it.
Those things are incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible.
And they just launched that Luna, the DAW, that the AUD DAW. I think they just released it 2 weeks ago, but they announced it at NAMM this year, and it looks pretty sweet. It looks like it meshes like Logic and Pro Tools together.
Interesting.
Because you know how Pro Tools is great for editing, but it has like a lot of recording glitches, and then Logic is great for recording, but has a lot of editing glitches. It sort of looks like a marriage of both DAWs.
Yeah, it's funny. Like, so I work in Adobe Premiere Pro a lot, and Adobe products, and I work in Pro Tools. I've worked in Logic for years, and Cubase and all of them. But there's definitely certain things from Pro Tools. It's like, I wish it could do that. I wish it could do what that program did, and I wish they'd all just get on the same board. It's nice to have, they are their own thing, But I mean, when you're trying to work in a universal or all these different platforms, it'd be nice to have something that's, the same across.
Yeah, totally. And I was having a conversation with an industry buddy of mine where he was saying like Pro Tools, if you're mixing or mastering, it is unbeatable. It is the DAW to use. But as soon as you record and do all that stuff, there's glitches, it crashes,
Right.
But
we editing. I don't think there's other than Adobe. I really like editing in Adobe. It's just quick and easy, and their grids are different. But in Pro Tools, their editing suite is.
It's you can't match it. It's unbelievable.
Terrible in Logic.
Yeah.
I feel like
you have to click on everything. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
that was a shout out for Pro Tools.
I'm over here in GarageBand still.
Hey, I'd rather use GarageBand than some of those other ones, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Well, hey, at least for GarageBand, you get free plugin packages, right? When you open it up, like that's the problem with Luna that they're going to be releasing. There's no free plugins, and I don't know if you have any AUD plugins on your Pro Tools setup, but they're super expensive, right? Like their Moog packages, they're the best, but they're expensive. So that's the only problem with their DAW right now is it doesn't have, any of the free plugin packages. Which
look at the price of their hardware. I mean, it's not cheap
yeah,
stuff.
Exactly.
But, hey, you get what you pay for.
Yeah,
totally.
Hands down. Yeah.
Yep.
Cool, man.
So, yeah, go ahead, Frank.
Oh, okay. We hit on some music. We're going to go back into music, no doubt. But outside of music, man, how you keeping sane? Doing anything? Keeping yourself.
Yeah. I'm exercising, which is something I wasn't doing for a long time.
Is that when you lost the beard? Is that the weight you lost?
Yeah. Yeah. That's the 0.02 pounds I lost was the beard.
Right. Yeah.
I'm doing it.
A lot of grease in that beard.
Making gains. Yeah. Exercising. I'm cooking a ton and just playing and like trying to work on stuff that I otherwise wouldn't be able to work on. When you're learning, as you guys know, as a session guy, you're constantly learning. It never ends, right? So as soon as you think, oh, good, I can relax for a month, you get a gig where you got to learn 42 songs in 2 weeks. And that kind of, anything you were going to work on chop wise or, to put in your arsenal is kind of out the window. So I'm sort of trying to take that time to relearn stuff and learn new stuff.
Yeah, that's great. Well, Ed and I were just talking about that, how, because we've been basically since this lockdown happened, that's when the company was launching and we were doing the work beforehand. I've touched my guitar maybe 3 times since all my touring stopped, and I got some work to do. like
it's weird because you know what, when this first started, I did that too. Like the first week, I don't think I picked up my bass, and then I went and picked it up and I felt like it was the first time I picked up a bass and I was like, ooh, that's not good.
Yeah.
So I'm going to get into, I'm sort of started at least an hour a day kind of on the guitar, just whatever it is I'm doing, just to, put that time in just to keep some of it's just the calluses on the fingers. I mean, they're huge.
Totally.
But,
totally.
Get that feel again and just being on the instrument, it's
the
fun.
nuances of the feels, right? Like,
yeah, exactly.
You can still, play some rock and roll, but to get some love making stuff in there, you gotta keep
dude, and that's part of the thing that I'm worried about is like, none of us have played with people in the longest time of our whole career.
Yeah.
We're gonna go back and we're gonna have like a month probably of like having to get that, get your ears back. And
I know the first show is going to be nerve wracking. The first live theater show that we're doing is going to be like,
it's going to be foreign, man.
Yeah.
No, it's just going to be,
I just hope it's with you guys. I hope my first show back, not to say I don't love other stuff I do, but you, my boys,
I agree.
Back, I want it to be our crew.
Yeah. For a little plug out there, if you need anybody to back you up or record for you.
That'll be the easiest back in for me. I hope it's not like a random gig where I gotta go play with people I've never played with before and fumbling all over.
Or an Alabama tribute show.
or that.
Let's hope that's not the first one.
75% is singing along the way. And,
It's a fun show to play. It's one of my when we're on, it's a super fun show. But wow, is that a lot of singing?
It's a love-hate show because you love it and you hate it at the same time.
We put a lot of work into that one, that's for sure.
Yeah, my last one was a little rough.
Yeah, we forgot about that.
I don't remember that. Yeah, I don't remember that stuff, but I do have it written down here on bar 30.
We were going to ask you
that up into the next
number
one.
7 was.
So, what other kind of stuff, man, are you doing outside of music and like pre-COVID, right? Like, in your life and what you'll do post as well. We know that you're coffee roaster.
Yes, sir. I work with my buddy Lucas Spinoza at Black Sheep Lounge.
Yeah.
That's like kind of like a small batch artisan coffee shop. Much like yourselves, they do have a brick and mortar, like the cafe side of it. But you know, as far as the wholesale side is very much like yourselves. And yeah, I've been doing that for, I guess I've been roasting for the last year and a half, 2 years maybe.
Yeah, or a little more, no?
Yes, I mean it's hard to keep track of time now. Yeah, it's been a while. I've been working in coffee with Lucas for almost 5 years.
Right.
Yeah.
So you know, the roasting side came into it somewhere in the last 3, 4, 7, 8 years.
Yeah. Well, I remember
when
you first showed us that we went in there and you showed us, you know, you were only first learning how to listen for the cracks and stuff like that. And, you know,
That's right.
Getting sort of comfortable with it.
Yeah.
You know,
and learning that software and.
Yeah, totally. And then, but I mean, you know, Lucas and I have, we've been friends for a long time and we work really well together. And he's been teaching me about coffee since the first day I actually, you know, started working with him, which would be about 5 years ago. And so I you know, and Black Sheep did not roast their own coffee for the first bit. It was more just a brick and mortar cafe. And we had specialty coffee. We actually use Monogram coffee, and they're out of Cambridge. Yeah. Monica and Graham, they're the owners, husband and wife duo, and that's fantastic coffee. And they're doing quite well. Like they have, I think, 4 or 5 locations in and around Cambridge, and they're in a cooperative called Red Circle in Cambridge. It's got a brewery, office spaces.
Yeah, cool.
And he's got like a little, yeah, it's great. He's got a little pastry shop in there, and that's where he does a lot of his roasting. He's got a Probat roaster in the back there, and he does everything. But that was kind of Lucas and I's mentor in the coffee world, to kind of get us going, especially more so for Lucas to start, you know, just to start a cafe and then just start e-commerce stuff, and then, you know, even down to how to buy cups for a cafe. I think I remember Lucas saying something like, Graham said to him, how many seats do you have? Lucas said, well, 45. And he goes, well, how many latte cups do you need? And Lucas said, 45. And he goes, no, you need 7. You know, so it's like, yeah, so, or whatever it was, but it was like significantly less than 45, right?
Yeah.
Is your place going to be full? Is every single person going to drink a latte? No, right? So you can cut corners there, but we used his cup for a while. Yeah, and then Lucas had gotten a really great deal on a roaster, an old Probat like 84 roaster, and then we started roasting, and we kind of didn't look back from there. And we've done origin trips and all that stuff.
Can you talk about that a little bit? You guys went on a big trip, right?
Yeah. So what an origin trip is, for people that don't know, is you go back to the country of origin where your coffee's coming from. So Lucas did a trip before I did. He went to Nicaragua, where we source some of our coffee from. And actually our coffee supplier is a Nicaraguan dude named Jamie, and he's awesome. So half of his family's here and half of his family's still in Nicaragua farming. So it's called Green Haven is the company, and they're like a green wholesaler. Green coffee is just raw coffee that hasn't been roasted, for people that don't know. And so Lucas had went with him back to his family's farm, and then some of the farms that we source from over there. And basically on an origin trip, you check out the farm, you meet the farmers, you meet the workers, you see the country, and see just the industry that your coffee is coming from. And it's kind of a quality thing too. And you want to make sure, you know, all the living situations for the workers are humane, and they're getting paid, you know, a living wage to feed their kids or you know, send them to school, whatever it is, right? And so that's what we try to do is like, I think like yourselves, it's we do direct trade, which is not much different than fair trade, except for we deal directly with the farms, whereas fair trade can also have a third party involved, and it's but people are getting paid properly, and you can eat, right? Sure. I had a conversation, so the origin trip that I went on with Lucas, we went to Honduras, and basically did what he did in Nicaragua. We went to the farms. We met a lot of the local people. We met cooperative workers that are in, working on distribution. So what the deal is there's a lot of farms, but not a lot of them have either the resources, the knowledge, or the the financial structure to wholesale their beans and get them to specialty coffee distributors like us, right?
Right.
So what happens is a government, generally cooperative, so in this case a government cooperative from Canada, goes to Honduras. They connect with farmers. They have a facility in Honduras where a bunch of different farmers will send their beans to get processed,
Right.
and then they get sent out from that cooperative. So it's kind of like a bunch of farmers or agricultural businesses working together in order to,
Kind of like a food terminal.
finance. Yeah.
Ish.
Same exact thing.
The
So,
same location. Yeah.
yep, it all gets shipped to the same location, which is kind of a central thing. In this case, it was in Santa Barbara, Honduras, kind of like right inland in Honduras. And I think 5 or 6 different farms in Santa Barbara all ship there. And they do cuppings there. So we were doing cuppings with Q graders, and a Q grader essentially is a sommelier for coffee.
What's a cupping?
So a cupping is where it's essentially like a wine tasting, where you spit it out and blah, 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 blah. And there's a specific way that you grind the beans, you put it in the cup, and you smell it, you taste it. So essentially you're trying to find defects in coffees. And it's also used for what's called green buying, which is where you find the coffee that you want, but you buy the green. So it's kind of like buying anything, right? You go to a facility, even when you're in fashion, a fashion buyer would go to a facility, look at the materials, and then buy from there. It's sort of the same kind of thing. So we, in Honduras, we cupped for 3 days. I think we cupped 90 different cups of coffee, and from a bunch of different regions. And with the Q graders, which I said are like coffee sommeliers, they're the ones that actually give coffee a grade, right?
Yeah. And
so
that's not an old process. That's
very
actually
new.
quite young.
Very new, yeah.
Yeah.
Specialty coffee in general is a very new thing, right? So what happens is these Q graders, they have grading sheets that are each kind of levels out of 10. You'll have acidity, you'll have sweetness, bitterness, basically any type of grading system you can think of, in your tasting palette. They kind of grade out of 10.
Yeah.
And for specialty coffee, you have to score above 82. And it goes from right up to 100, but no coffees are 100. Very few coffees are in the low 90s.
Yeah.
And if they're in the low 90s, they're extremely expensive and hard to get. And so like with Black Sheep, we like to sit in like the 84 to 87 to 90 range.
Right.
That's kind of where we sit. And I mean, but the thing is, that we found with dealing with these Q graders is they sort of have a bias palette. Not saying that they're grading something higher because they're physically or emotionally biased to it, but their palate, they're used to eating cacao, they're used to eating plantains, they're used to eating, what they eat.
Yeah.
So when they relate a flavor, they're just relating it to the stuff around them, which is where the coffee's grown. Whereas they're looking for something totally different than what maybe you and I are looking for.
Yeah.
Right. So we would grade a coffee totally different from them. So there's a weird thing when you're green buying where they'll say, well, in Honduras, this scored an 82, but we would probably score it at an 88. So it's a suggestive score. It's not the actual score, but you have to take that into account when you're buying, right? So there's a lot of coffees in Honduras that scored a 87 that we would have scored like maybe an 80. And then there's coffee that scored an 82 where we would have scored maybe a 90. You know what I mean? So it's when you're green buying, it comes down to that's why you're there to cup, because you find coffees that you like, and if you're lucky, you get an 82 that you love, and it's $2 cheaper than everything else. Right. So I mean, that's what the origin trips are mainly for, is green buying and seeing the farms. And like I was going to say, I had a conversation with a farmer in Honduras where he had said, you know, we dealt with major companies before that were not specialty, because specialty market in Honduras is very new. And so they were dealing with, like, whether it was or not, it was like a Folgers type company, right?
Okay.
So they were getting like 50 cents on the pound, which is like, yeah, exactly. They were getting 50 cents on the pound, which is, I mean, you guys probably know how much work goes into harvesting coffee beans. Like one tree doesn't harvest a pound, right?
That's
like,
right. Wow.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the amount of work that these workers have to do, and I saw it, like, in the mountains in Honduras, like, there's coffee trees from certain varietals that are at the top of a mountain that only grow there. So they don't have, you know, conveyor belts or cranes. There's a guy physically, probably with 100 pounds of cherries strapped to him, climbing that mountain to get that. So it's you know, it's dangerous, and there's a lot of stuff that goes into it. So if 50 cents going to the farm, you know, what's the worker getting at the end of that? So we had a conversation where he was making 50 cents, and because of the specialty market and because of the Canadian government cooperative, he was now making $2.50 per pound. You know, so he said, like, I was able to send my kids to college because of this specialty market, and my workers live here, live comfortably, and can provide for their families because of this market. So it's a sustainable business as in terms of, you know, economy and just everything, right? Because now farmers can grow more, and
that's great.
It's a better tasting product in the end.
It's a better product.
It's a feel good thing too. That's,
you know.
Yeah, and it makes you feel good. But I mean, the good thing is with direct trade, so specifically, you know, we can commit to a farmer for, you know, half of his yield. So we do that in Nicaragua, where we have a farm where we own a quarter or a half of a specific yield every year. So that farmer is guaranteed that money, which means he can take the time now to put into the quality of those beans, and because he knows he's getting paid, right? So the money's there, and your quality's there. It's just better for everybody.
Win-win.
Yeah, exactly.
So let's take a break here,
Welcome back to part 2 of Coffee Hang with Waylon Glintz. We got Ed Mortensen here and myself, Frank Corrin, from Mornin Buzz Coffee. And Waylon, next question. Outside of your passion for music and coffee, what are you doing out in the world, or what do you have pre-COVID, COVID, you know?
I have a dog.
Yes.
Yeah. I honestly, like I was saying, like now, like COVID happening, I exercise like crazy now, which I like was not doing
That's
before.
the second time you've mentioned that in this interview. Are you trying to tell something to the ladies or something? Like, what's going on here, bud? Second time you mentioned that.
Just trying to tell Frank.
I think he mentioned Serena being his girlfriend too. So we got to be. Is this
right? Nice.
The relationship, or is it? That's bus talk.
Yeah, really, I mean, just playing and stuff. Like I don't really do much else. That's kind of me.
You know what, dude? Let's go to the next question here about what you're passionate about, okay? Because I know you are involved with different stuff, from like volunteer firefighting to, you know, the Legion, like being part of the Legion, and you and I share passion. So does Frank, with, you know, military and service people and stuff like that. So please talk about that side, because you got a pretty rich part of your life in that department, right?
Yeah. So my dad was a volunteer fireman in Chippewa, my hometown, at Station 4. which is kind of where I grew up. And a lot of my friends now are from that time. And so a ton of my friends are firemen. So right now, those people are out there keeping us safe and, having to go to work every day and, be in a room with 20 people.
Yeah.
So, they can't social distance. So they're the guys doing it where we can't. So that's super important. And so I'm a big supporter of firemen and first responders. And I know a ton of nurses that are out there, doing great things. So yeah, I've always been around the fire hall and all that stuff. And then, I'm a member of the Legion and the 101 branch in Etobicoke. Yeah.
It's fun that it's in Etobicoke too, though.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because my brother-in-law lives around and my sister live around the corner from that Legion. And one of my best friends, Andy, lives down the street. Andy was the one actually that signed up first, and he was like, "Do you want to join the Legion down the street from my place?" And I said, "Yeah, let's do it."
Yeah.
And most of my buddies in Chippewa, which is a very kind of close-knit community, there's a Legion there, and most of my buddies are member of the Legion.
Yeah.
In my hometown. And once you're a member of one Legion, you're kind of just a member in general. That's why I didn't officially join in my hometown. But I think once my membership expires at 101, I'm probably going to just move it over to Chippewa. It makes more sense. And actually, while we're here, the Chippewa Legion 2 days ago actually got broken into.
Oh, come on.
Yeah. So they smashed the front doors of the Legion and stole the ATM out of the front door. So that branch already struggles with financially with members, because I mean at a certain point there's a generation that doesn't care about they care, they just don't show the support in the same way that maybe the past generations did, because a lot of people that fought in the wars are really starting to pass away now. And
can you please talk about the Legion quickly? Just what is the Legion? What maybe for the younger generations that might be watching this video, or even the older generations, what is it all about? It's a huge part of our history, right?
Yeah. So the Royal Canadian Legion is essentially a group that originally it started off of as war veterans, people coming back from the war, and that's how you remember it, if you're a veteran or an active member. And then it kind of went down to, if your dad was in the military or your brother, you could join because of kind of your lineage. And now it's just open to anybody who wants to support, because the numbers are dwindling, because military is a very different thing now. We don't, there's not the draft. So not everybody's, kind of eligible. And so basically they just need everyone's support, and anyone that maybe has had a grandfather or a father in the military should join up and support. With your membership you support there, but then these are the people that do the poppy drives every year. When you see the red poppy, that all comes from the Royal Canadian Legion. And what they do is they just support families of veterans and veterans themselves, which is really important, because when people get out of the military, sometimes they're injured and can't work a regular job, or sometimes they just don't know what else to do and, don't have regular skills outside of the military that can apply to the workforce, right?
And many are suffering PTSD, and the Legion is, so the Legion is not just it's not just a social place, it's a service.
It's not just a social place.
You know what? You hit the nail on the head with the social place, Frank, is that's exactly what it was made for.
Yes.
It was made at the beginning so that these war vets,
and it still is, that they could go, they have a place where they could all get together and, help each other out mentally, as well as a place for their family to be involved too. And it was a common ground place, right? Yeah. And that being said, you can get the cheapest pint you've ever had, which is a bonus
for a good cause. And it goes through.
So if anybody out there, would like to support, their troops, or support the troops' family in any way, and, has the respect and has their heart in the right place, but also wants to drink cheap, join the Legion, man.
Well, I've also won meat at a Legion in Alberta. I have won. Let me say that again. I have won meat. A meat draw. where they have so many steaks. Alberta, what wrong, right? And you buy tickets. Like, come on, what a great place! Meat and beer.
You know how many? You know how many turkey dinners my mother-in-law gets from for Christmas or Thanksgiving or Easter from the Legion? Just she buys it up. She's always winning meat.
Oh yeah,
it's great, man. Right. And you know what? It's a place you can always feel safe, and it's like I said, you get the cheap beers, but there's definitely a sense of camaraderie because not only are you part of something, you're helping something, and it's a really it's hard to feel more Canadian than when you're in a Royal Canadian Legion having a beer, right?
Got it.
And I like just the other day, maybe a month ago, there was a just before this all went down. It was one of my good buddy's birthday, his 40th birthday, and we had it at the Legion. So it was a bunch of the firemen guys, and we went down to the Legion and we cleaned out their Bud Light.
Yeah. Hey, and, not to put a damper on the situation, but after my mom's funeral, we all went to the Legion for the hang. And that's when I won the meat. And they had pool tables and they had shuffleboard. And one thing that every single one has in the middle of the room, what? Waylon, you like to cut it? A dance floor.
Oh, yeah.
And they all have remember that thing of dancing? You know how people used to go out and dance and
go to a ball, baby.
Time? Play bingo?
Well, it's funny that the first night that me, my brother-in-law, and my buddy Andy, we went to the 101 branch for the first time, all three of us together to have beers.
Awesome.
It was on like the Friday night when they do their dances. So it was like a seniors dance, and it's me and like two of my idiot friends, and we go in and we're slamming beers. But then, that's where the camaraderie comes into it because we were cutting a rug and then
I was going to say, yeah.
But then all of a sudden we're talking to the old members, the veterans, right? Because they came up to us because they're like, who are these punks? We never seen these guys before.
They came up to you.
Yeah.
They
came up and they said, like, who are you guys? Why are you guys here? And we said, oh, we're new members. And they said, oh, that's great. Because you guys are respectful. You're here to have a good time. You're, and you tip your bartender properly, in a place like that. And they loved it. I mean, there's always going to be some guys that don't agree with new stuff.
Oh, sure.
But, the common consensus was like, we need you guys. If this is going to sustain, we need you young guys to come in here and, drink, come in here and support the cause, right? And so they were excited that there was young guys, and actually coming out to we didn't realize we were coming out to an event, but,
Yeah.
And, but they have dart tournaments.
Out east here, do you guys have like the Moose Hall or shrines and stuff like that? Like, do you remember that?
There's the Shriners and like there's Frank. What are the other ones? The Masons.
Masons out here. Big. Oddfellow clubs are all around the place.
Right.
They're all service clubs. They all help.
Yeah.
Which is kind of what the fire department is in Chippewa, Station 4, which is a volunteer. They also have the association, which my dad is still a part of, and I help when I can. And a lot of my friends are the kind of the spearheaders of that whole thing. It's the upstairs of the fire hall, and they do everything community. They do community events. They donate money. So if you're ever looking for people that are watching, if you're ever looking, for a first responders cause to donate to, it's any volunteer fire hall around will generally have an association. So donate to your local volunteer firemen because they need it. So
yeah, right. And totally. Even bigger ones and smaller ones, it doesn't matter any size.
And the other thing about the thing you're talking about, the older guys in the Legion Hall, is you get to talk to you hear their stories. The wisdom of age is something that is forgotten because we keep isolating. We get kids hang out with kids, teenagers hang out with teenagers, adults hang out with adults.
Yeah. Right.
We don't have that cross. We don't live in homes where we got grandpa, dad, and then like
or even have events that people all come out.
It's all
street parties or whatever. I remember when I was growing up, our house on the weekends was always filled with strangers having drinks and socializing, either playing cards or again dancing in the basement, like whatever. Like there was always something going on, and it was always from little gaffers, rugrats, all the way to grandpa and great grandpas.
Yeah, you weren't not allowed in there because you were too young or too old. Everybody was mixed. And I grew up the same way. So the Legion provides some of that too, where you can.
Yeah, and I feel super lucky, being from my hometown Chippewa. And having the dad I have is like, all of his friends are my friends. And when you go to a bar in Chippewa, since it's such a small community, you kind of know everybody, and you chop it up with everybody at the bar instead of just going with your friends. It's kind of like Cheers. You walk in and you kind of know everybody, and that's kind of how Chippewa operates. And then being involved with the Legion and the Fire Hall and stuff, it's just another extension of that.
Yeah,
terrific, man. Awesome.
Fantastic.
What are you watching these days? Because I know we watch a lot of movies on the bus. You got to be watching. You're not going anywhere else right now.
Yeah.
Can I quickly say something here, Waylon?
And exercising and practicing your bass. We'll see if that's true. What are you watching? What TV shows, books, whatever's turning your crank, podcast?
Waylon, before you start telling about the movies that you were watching, let me tell you a quick little story here. Yesterday, I'm on a walk with Maple, my daughter, my oldest daughter. And I was telling her about how you and I, because she mentioned the Annabelle movie, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because how does a 10-year-old know about the Annabelle movie? And I'm like, isn't that a scary movie, Maple? Like, you didn't watch it. Oh, no. Just my friends talk about it. Well, the doll's not all that scary, blah, blah, blah. And I said, Waylon and I watched that thing on an airplane. And I started telling her about
scared.
We were scared. And how we got onto that thing about, watching horror movies on airplanes. I don't think there's a better place to watch a horror movie than on an airplane.
Completely agree. Completely agree.
Forget that you're flying a bad airline.
Well, what did Frank say when we were talking about The Exorcist? He said, "Leave that shit on the ground." Remember that?
Yeah, we were gonna watch it. Leave that shit on the ground.
Leave that shit on the ground. No, I love it because you're in a cabin with a bunch of people. I don't know if ghosts fly. Do spirits fly? I don't know.
Of course they do. They float.
Well, has there ever been a ghost sighting on an airplane? Maybe we should look into that.
It just distracts you from how bad the service may be and the fact your knees are crammed and all that. You get,
the fact that you're 30,000 feet in the air and you could crash to the ground at any moment. There's also that part.
Might as well be pre-terrified.
Pre-terrified. Is that pre or post?
Pre-terrified. I love it.
Post-terrified?
Yeah.
So what are you watching, buddy?
Well, I've been watching recently Peaky Blinders with my dad. That's a good one. And I finished Ozark. Yeah,
everyone's watching that. I haven't seen it yet. It's awesome, huh?
And then it's unreal, man. And then the new season just came out. Season 3 just came out not that long ago. And then I watched this thing called Our Planet, which is kind of like Planet Earth. Yeah, but the new version, so David Attenborough hosting or narrating, I should say. That's a big one that I watched. That one's awesome. So, that's pretty much it. I mean, I'm trying to I always watch The Office and stuff and Frasier. Those are my kind of go-to. Put it on in the background and watch it when you're watching it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But what else? Oh, have you ever heard of Kidding? It's the Jim Carrey. He plays a Mr. Rogers type character, and he's kind of dealing with a loss of his son, and he's trying to be this cultural image of purity and wholesomeness, but he's kind of cracking inside. And it's sort of it's sort of like a kind of dive into the human condition, right? Where he's has this front but is slowly going kind of insane. And that's they just dropped season 2 not that long ago.
It's a series.
It's a series, and it's on Crave. It's called Just Kidding or Kidding or something. But it's good, man. It's pretty. It's I've only seen the first episode of the second season, but the first season's pretty dark, and it's kind of like a dark comedy. It's for the episodes are 20 minutes or 25 minutes, something like that.
It's very fitting for the time that we're watching it in too.
Yeah, totally.
There are people that are starting to crack. It's over now. They're starting to feel it, getting snippy, people running out, and it's.
Yeah. And I saw kind of on the top of the topic of the Legion thing, I saw a really good meme the other day where it said, our fathers and grandfathers and grandmothers and mothers had to go to war and put their life on the line for our country, and all we have to do is stay inside and eat potato chips. So it's pretty selfish. It's pretty selfish watching people complain about not being able to, go for sushi or something. So
Yeah. Right.
something to think
but
about.
You know what?
Anyway,
I can't wait to go for sushi.
That being said,
you hit the button there, bud.
Yeah.
Sushi.
Yes. Bobby,
and that's something else.
Burger again, sit together.
Speaking of that, gents, did you not see that thing I sent you about the pizza?
I did.
Frank Pepe.
Is that new or that's an old one, right?
It must be an old one, but I just stumbled across it by accident. And
because I have seen it. Yeah, it's David.
So everybody
Chang, right?
knows we play it. We have played a couple times at the Mohegan Sun Casino in Connecticut, and they have two of our favorite food places.
Yeah.
Bobby Flay's Burgers.
Yeah.
And
correct.
Frank Pepe's Pizza. And this is probably the best pizza it is the best pizza I've ever had in my life.
It's unreal.
As musicians, we get free food that's pretty good there.
Yeah.
But we will pay for this pizza
and burger.
And then pay for the burgers the next night because
I stumbled across a show called Ugly Delicious, and it had a pizza episode. And in the second person they interview is the grandson of the owner of Frank Pepe's. And I just about lost it.
Yeah.
I had to text you guys.
You know what?
Check it out.
It's funny. I've seen that, and I don't think I even registered that it was Frank Pepe's.
Well, would you have watched it before we introduced you to it? Because I think the first two times you weren't on the gig. Were you?
I wasn't on the gig the first time.
No, I've only been on the gig twice now.
Okay, the first time when we found the pizza place, we found it because we showed up at midnight or something, and it was the only place open. But I just can't remember who was on bass or guitar, but I think it was Jeremy on guitar. Anyway, it's a special place to us.
Yeah, it's and that's actually a topic that we should touch on quick. Is there's a lot of restaurants that are still open that people should be supporting, some of their favorite restaurants, some of their local favorite restaurants. These people are struggling, right? So if you can afford to get some takeout on a night, grab your favorite pizza from your, favorite local pizzeria or your, a cafe that's still open, still trying to sling coffee, go grab a cup of coffee, if you can afford it. Not everybody can right now. So,
but stay away from each other.
Yeah. Stay safe.
Well, they have a big thing. Canadian-wide thing now. They call it Takeout Wednesdays. It's designed to just call your, if you're not going to normally do takeout, do it on a Wednesday at least.
Yeah.
Just the support. Find a low.
On Wednesdays, we'll try to order a pizza, and they'll be like, "Sorry, it's a 4-hour wait," because everybody's ordering on Wednesday. There's 37 million orders coming in.
The idea is to find a place that you can walk to. Go to a place that you can walk to. You grab it from there. Curbside kind of stuff. It's
important. I know a couple bar owners in my hometown that are really struggling, that are kind of landmarks in the community, and they're wondering how they're going to support their staff and keep the ship afloat, right?
Yeah, man, big time.
It's a tough thing
for everybody.
Yeah.
Right on. Okay, so we got another question for you there, Waylon. You're a young guy, so this is going to be curious for me. You're a lot younger than I am. Isolation records. Or
isolation records.
We're giving you a whole.
Not your medical records due to your isolation.
Yeah.
The albums you might be listening to.
We don't need to know about Waylon's medical records. Trust me.
They're the best they've ever been.
We know a lot.
They're the best they've ever been.
Not for this show.
Because you've been forced to stay indoors. That's why they're good.
I'm not drinking, so.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm kind of new to Spotify. I finally kind of crossed to the dark side and got the full Spotify thing. So I've been listening to playlists more than I've been listening to records.
Yeah.
So I've been really hot on Jason Isbell, all of his stuff. Actually, Billie Eilish. I've been listening.
I love Billie Eilish, man.
And Billie Eilish, yeah. What else am I listening to? I'm always listening to Alice Cooper and David Bowie. Those are my top favorites.
Exactly.
So.
You are an old soul, man. So it's great to hear what you're listening to, the new music. But I've been in your basement. I've heard the records you put on. What are your 3 desert island records? You
Three
got
Desert Island Records.
You've been put on a desert island. What are the three? Come on.
Number kind of in order. Welcome to My Nightmare, Alice Cooper.
Yeah.
Probably Ziggy Stardust, David Bowie.
Yep.
Electric Ladyland, Jimi Hendrix.
Oh, yeah.
That's the second time we've heard that in the last little while about Jimmy.
Yeah. And then, it's hard for me to just pick three because I have such, there's also like Ace of Spades, Motorhead, which, would be massively in there. And then and there's like the Allman Brothers. And there's so many facets where I'd I don't know how I would get away with not having,
I know you can, I know you count to, well, do you count when you play music? Is that
no? That's just up to you.
Let's play in 3-4 times.
We've noticed.
1, 2, 3. That's it.
Yeah.
3,
We're
4.
not 5, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Who do we appreciate? No, yeah, it's that's a hard choice.
Right?
But I think I would go with Welcome to My Nightmare, Ziggy Stardust, and Electric Ladyland. That's probably the big players for me.
Those are beautiful.
We can still be friends. That's good. Very good.
Yeah.
Waylon Glintz. So what's next, bud? What's next for you? After COVID, let's talk a little bit about these mobile base tracking you can do, as well as you're going to be doing some teaching, right? I'm kind of doing whatever I can to get some students right now, as every musician is, and that's a way if you do want to support your local artists. If you're not watching a live stream and tipping some artists on live stream, if you've ever wanted to pick up an instrument and you kind of have the means to do so right now, I mean, all of the musicians around us are giving lessons, so as am I. So if anybody out there needs bass lessons, I'm here. And if you guys are giving lessons, so if there's drum lessons and guitar lessons and all that stuff, then how are you doing your lessons? Are you doing it on FaceTime? Are you doing it on Skype? Are you going to use this Zoom program now? I think Zoom
basically
is awesome for me.
Yeah, basically any platform that you could be on, Zoom, Skype, FaceTime, whatever, Google Meetings, whatever's comfortable for the client is kind of what I'll do. So yeah, and I think that goes with pretty much all of us, right?
You can teach some intro guitar as well, not just bass.
Yeah, man, yeah.
You got a couple of chords and a few things you can play. I've heard you do some solos, as a matter of fact, on stage.
There's some of that, yeah.
Live,
yeah, and that, or if you just need band advice or career, if you're a very young starting up musician, I can shed some light for you. And
and that's important, especially coming from Waylon, because Ed could attest to this. Anyone that works with Waylon in a band, when he first walks in, you're like, and when I first met him, it was the young kid on the bus, and I'm like, okay, he's a pretty young kid, right? And because we've had the experience with the 23-year-old, 24-year-old that just, man, you came in prepared, ready for the hang, and you can play, and you have great gear, all the requirements that sometimes people don't get to till they're 35 or 40. You've got all that down now. So if you're a 15-year-old or a 20-year-old musician, you want to talk about being ready for a gig. That's my biggest complaint with young musicians, is they're not ready at the level that you're ready at. And I always say,
man.
When they say I'm still young, I'm like, wow, no, there's this cat that that I play with regularly that has all that down and still has fun and time to go out and drink pints at the Legion.
Which we do. Yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate that. And I think
it means a lot to have someone like that you can trust to call.
Yeah. Well, likewise to you guys too. It's the same. The feeling's mutual, and I think professionalism knows no age, right? I mean, you either do it or you don't, right? I've played with.
You have to learn it from somewhere, though. At some point in your life or during that process, something had to have happened, or an influence came in, or you've seen something where you're like, oh, I love how they, that person, how they do that. So I want to, copy that or whatever, or bring that to me.
Yeah, for sure.
With the touch of
I
a
can,
mouth, right?
yeah, I can pinpoint exactly where, a few of those things came from. Number one is my dad, his work ethic in
Wally.
everything. Yeah. My dad, Wally,
Baby.
he, from the fireman to just how he goes to work every day, that with a certain ethic, I definitely aspire to be like that for sure. And then I had a teacher in high school named John Navaroli, who kicked my ass and was like if anybody's seen Whiplash, that movie, maybe not as accurate to a real drummer, but to the teaching aspect, I think most of us have had that teacher, or that influence that has absolutely kicked your ass. And he did that super early on and kind of conditioned, because he comes from he's an old school New York musician, and he played with guys like that playing with in the James Brown band, and we're like doing the Detroit Motown stuff. So he got conditioned by these guys, and then his first big teacher was a Berkeley graduate, so he got all of these disciplines, and it wasn't so much music and practicing that I got from him, it was ethic. It was I remember the one time he lost it on me, because I did my co-op underneath him, and we were doing some sort of assembly, and me and the other guy that were doing the co-op were supposed to handle some of the gear and bring it back to the music room, and then go and do whatever tech thing we were doing. And he had said, Waylon, you take care of the bass stuff, and this other guy, Rob, you take care of the pianos. So I took care of the bass stuff, went on my merry way. The next morning I come in and he's like, you're fired. And I was like, what? And he's like, there was so much stuff left in the gym. And he's like, I have arthritis in my hands. I had to carry all this stuff. And I said, well, you told me to take care of the bass stuff. So I did. And he's like, yeah, but there was all this other stuff. So that was kind of the lesson of, you do what you're told, and then you do the next thing that you think should be done.
Yeah.
The job doesn't end when someone says this is all you have to do. You should.
Yeah. What are you going to do? Stand around and twiddle your thumbs? Like, get that work, help out. Yeah.
Thinking in your head, what can I bring to the table, and what else can I do? How can I be? The job's not over until it's over.
That's an
so that was a big thing. He was in many aspects, and I remember with my first real band, he was like, you guys got to practice 3 hours a day, be in there. You guys learn 10 songs a week. So there was just like a discipline to work ethic with him that I learned. And then, that kind of transcended through my whole career, which every step there's been kind of that nudging force, with when I was in a certain part, the Mandevilles were that driving force. And then Garth was another guy that had that influence. And, you guys in Elton are also that influence. And
but you're influence too. You will, if you have a rougher show, you'll beat yourself up about it, even though we're like, dude, that was like two little things that, but at least you recognize where you need to do it.
Yeah.
I know those two things you're talking about. It was in bar 6. Oh, sorry. We'll talk about that later.
My pleasure. But yeah, I've been super lucky to have number one, great people to work with. I've I think I'm a minority in saying that I've worked with more good people than bad people. I've heard so many horror stories of people working with horror people, and we have worked with them. The three of us ourselves have worked with people that but as a general thing,
5, 6.
As a general thing,
Waylon didn't work with that.
Yeah, exactly. As a general thing, we've especially in our circle, we're super lucky to have the band that we have, and then my outer circles away from our bands, with working with the Mandevilles, to working with this new artist Christy Palace, to my team out west with Leaving Thomas. Everybody's been great and supportive, and I can't complain about the people I work with. I've been super lucky.
And they talk. I was before this whole thing went down, I was out west with a bunch of the same folk that like with Maddie McKay that you're tight with, and they talk that same way about you, about that guy.
That's fantastic to hear.
So it's nice to know that you're also thought of that way, which is not the case for everybody out there, because a few other names came up and they're like, woo, okay. We'll keep those quiet and we'll keep them for the bus. But so it's you are well respected right across the country in all the different sort of music communities.
Well, that's good to hear.
You are in this house.
We got first.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Can't wait to get on a bus with you again, brother.
I know, man. I miss you guys. It's
Big time.
that's like the biggest thing, because otherwise my life hasn't really changed a whole lot. Like being at home, playing and eating. That's kind of what I do.
Working out and working out
now. Yeah.
Working out.
So that's kind of what I do anyway. So I just really miss, being able to go to the Legion and chop it up with my buddies, and then getting on the bus and touring and playing shows with you guys. That's the two aspects that are really lacking in my life right now. But
we're going to be doing all of the above very soon.
yeah,
in 3
in
years
good time.
of that,
Mr.
man.
Glintz,
Yeah.
where can people find you, sir?
You can go to my Instagram, and anyone can, wherever it is, at W Glintz. Anybody can reach out and DM through there. If you don't know my email, or if you don't know anything, you can get a hold of me directly through there, or my website, www.waylonglintz.com. Dates and info and all that stuff is there.
Over here, Frank.
I was like,
Here.
I was going down, but it's not a thumbs down. It's
It's
Yeah.
Waylon,
What a night.
fantastic, man. It's been a great hang. Absolutely.
Likewise, guys.
Coffee hang.
Great to see your faces, and thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thanks for coming on,
Pleasure.
dude. What a treat. Everyone's gonna have
Hell yeah,
an
man.
awesome time watching this.
Yeah.
Again, Waylon Glintz, www.waylonglintz.com, or find him on Instagram at Waylon Glintz, W Glintz, Glintz. And that's it. That's another episode of Coffee Hang right here, baby.
Awesome.
In the house.
You guys thank
I like
you, Waylon. We'll see you next Friday.
Thanks
And,
a lot, guys.
That's it. Next Friday at you get another bad place, another bad time.
Yeah. Sounds good.
All right.
Love you, brother. Take
Love you
care.
guys too. Cheers.
Take care, folks.